Welcome to the AI Hub, a podcast for AI-driven side hustles designed for IT professionals like you.
From cutting-edge AI tools to practical, no-nonsense tips, each episode brings you closer to turning tech into income.
Tune in to discover smart and sustainable ways to boost your career and income with AI.
Hey everyone, welcome back to AI Hub. I'm Larry, and I'll be your guide as we sort of explore the AI world together.
And I'm Amanda, here to help us break down some of the big stories. It really is a fire hose right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It's not even just the quantity. It's like every time you refresh your feed, there's a new article. But it's also the variety, too. We're seeing these breakthroughs in research, all these new applications popping up every single day.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. And then, of course, we're still having all these conversations about the impact of AI on basically everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, it seems like every day there's a new article about the AI revolution or some sort of big change that's happening because of AI. And, if you're just trying to stay informed, it can feel a little overwhelming, can't it?
Totally. How do you even keep up with it all? And speaking of feeling overwhelmed, I think even a lot of the experts are feeling it too. TechCrunch, they're a pretty well-known tech publication.
Right.
And even they revamped their AI newsletter recently. They actually they paused it for a week just to figure out how to deal with the sheer volume of news that's coming out.
Right.
What do you think about that, Amanda? Is this a sign of things to come?
I think so. I think it definitely shows that AI is reaching this point where it's just growing so fast that we need, new ways of dealing with all this information. Think about it. Even a couple of years ago, AI news was really niche. Just for, people who are really into tech, and now it's front page news. It's impacting every industry that you can think of. So I think, TechCrunch pausing their newsletter, it kind of means we need better ways to sift through everything and figure out, what's really important.
Yeah. So it's not enough to just skim the headlines anymore.
Right.
You really have to dig in and actually understand what it all means.
Right. You have to find what's the signal and what's just noise. And that's kind of what we're here to do.
Exactly. Help everyone make sense of it all. All right. So let's jump into some of the biggest stories from this past week. Let's start with this new test that they're developing for artificial general intelligence. That's AGI for our listeners who aren't super familiar. And this isn't a sudden breakthrough or anything, but it does show that there's steady progress being made towards more advanced AI.
What's really interesting about this new test is that it's not just measuring an AI's ability to do a very specific task. It's looking at whether an AI can actually reason, learn new things, adapt to different situations, a bunch of domains. And that's really at the core of what AGI is all about.
Gotcha. So it's not just can it write a poem or beat someone at chess, but can it learn and then apply that knowledge to something completely new?
Exactly. So. And while we're not quite at true AGI yet, it seems like this test is kind of a step in that direction, pushing the boundaries of what we thought AI could do.
Okay. Now let's shift gears a little bit. Talk about Amazon. Looks like they're really getting into AI in a big way. They've got a new R&D lab, and they're focused on building these foundational AI capabilities.
Yeah.
What do you think about that move, Amanda?
I think it's a really big deal. Amazon, they're already a huge player when it comes to AI. But this lab shows that they're really serious about competing with the big guys like OpenAI, Google. They want to develop those core technologies that, are at the heart of AI.
So it's not just about improving their algorithms or automating their warehouses. They're going for something much bigger.
Right. Exactly. And it could have massive implications. Think about cloud computing or robotics or even personalized medicine.
Wow.
This is a move that could really change the entire AI landscape.
Speaking of AI shaking things up, Yelp just announced that they're integrating AI into their platform to analyze the sentiment of user reviews.
This is a really cool application because it has so much potential, both for businesses and for consumers. Imagine if you could tell not just what people are saying about your product or service,
right,
but how they actually feel about it.
So businesses would get a way better understanding of customer feedback.
Yeah, and they could make their offerings even better.
Right.
But it also brings up some interesting questions, like how will this information be used?
Mm-hmm.
Will it be used to like give people more personalized recommendations or change marketing strategies or even like affect pricing?
Right.
These are things we should definitely be thinking about.
Yeah. It's a good reminder that every time there's some new AI development, there's also a bunch of potential consequences that we need to consider.
Exactly. Technology doesn't just exist in a vacuum.
Yeah.
You know, it's shaped by the people who create it and the way it's used in the world.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We can't talk about AI integrations without mentioning Reddit.
Right.
They're adding some new AI-powered features like automatic summarization, conversation threading.
And that really shows you how AI is just becoming more and more a part of our everyday online lives. And it can make things easier, you know, like navigating huge amounts of information, connecting with people.
Yeah.
But we do have to keep in mind that AI can also influence what we see and how we interact online.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
We need to stay aware of how AI is shaping our online experiences, even in these subtle ways that we might not even realize.
Exactly, yeah. And on that note, you know, X, formerly Twitter, of course.
Oh, yeah.
They had a good rebranding, and they unveiled their new AI assistant called Grok. And what I found really interesting about it was their focus on image generation. It seems like that's a big area for all these AI assistants right now.
Yeah. It does seem like every major platform is trying to integrate image generation into their AI tools. Do you think this is like just a fad, or is there something more substantial behind it?
I think it reflects just how powerful and accessible image generation technology is becoming. And it lets platforms offer more creative and engaging experiences for users. And honestly, it has the potential to revolutionize things like advertising or design, even art.
Yeah. So it might seem like we're just like, oh, wow, AI can make images. That's cool. But there's actually a deeper impact, right? Like, it could change how we make and consume all sorts of visual content.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just another example of how AI is blurring the lines between technology and creativity.
Well said.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about a story that shows AI's potential for good.
Yeah.
Google made a pretty big investment in using AI for renewable energy. And this could really be a game changer when it comes to addressing climate change.
Yeah, this is something that I'm really excited about. Just think about using AI to make energy grids more efficient, predicting energy consumption, designing better solar panels. It could completely change how we generate and use energy.
So it's not just about replacing fossil fuels, but using AI to make the whole energy system smarter and more sustainable.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a pretty amazing vision for the future, isn't it?
For sure. Okay, so this next story it's kind of mind-blowing. Researchers were able to use AI to predict 100 years of climate patterns.
Wow.
In just 25 hours.
That is mind-blowing. It shows just how incredible AI is when it comes to processing data and creating these complex models. Imagine what we could learn, what solutions we could find if we can predict things with that kind of accuracy.
Yeah, it's like having a crystal ball for the climate.
Yeah.
And that could be super valuable for planning for the future, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And it shows how AI can be a really powerful tool for understanding and tackling some of the biggest challenges we face.
Right. Okay, let's move on to something that's generating a lot of buzz in the AI community, video generation.
Oh.
Specifically, this new model called Cosvid. It can generate videos in real time.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
What makes Cosvid unique is the way it generates videos. Like, it starts playing the video the moment it starts generating, so you can see it, developing as it goes.
Interesting.
And that's different from other models like Sora, which generates the whole video before you see anything.
So it's like you're watching the AI be creative in real time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool. How does that affect the quality, though? Like, is there a trade-off between speed and how good the video looks?
Well, that's a great question. From what I've seen, Cosvid actually doesn't seem to compromise on quality. The videos are still really detailed, very realistic, which means that the model itself must be incredibly efficient.
That's pretty wild. It seems like AI is moving so fast these days. And speaking of Sora, there's a group that released an open source implementation of it.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it's really sparking this debate about the future of AI development. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, open sourcing a model as powerful as Sora brings up all sorts of questions, like who gets access to it? How transparent should the development be? How do we make sure it's used responsibly? It's really getting at the heart of who controls AI.
Yeah. And it seems like the open source movement is really gaining momentum in AI. What do you think is driving that trend?
I think people are starting to realize that AI can reach its full potential only if it's accessible to a wider range of people. Not just researchers and developers, but also just people who are curious, Open sourcing these models lets people collaborate more, speeds up innovation. It makes the development process more democratic.
Right, so it's like a counterforce to this idea that AI is only controlled by a few big companies.
Exactly. And it also means that more people can look at the code, find potential problems, make sure it's being used ethically.
Yeah, transparency and accountability are so important as AI gets more powerful and more integrated into our lives.
Absolutely. It's a conversation that we need to keep having as the technology continues to evolve.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to AI Hub. We're diving even deeper into AI news, the stuff that's really shaping our world.
Exactly. And we were just talking about this whole open source AI thing, and I'm curious to get your take on another development there. ChatGPT, they're the company behind, that popular language model. Well, they're apparently planning on launching subscriptions for their video generator. So they're basically trying to compete with models like Sora, which, it's been making a lot of noise because it can create these incredibly realistic videos.
It's pretty amazing to see how AI video generation is changing so fast. ChatGPT is already a big player in text generation, so moving into video is kind of a natural next step for them. It'll be really interesting to see what their subscriptions look like, how they decide to price things.
Right, because Sora has generated a ton of buzz, especially because of how realistic and immersive the videos are. Do you think ChatGPT entering the market will lead to some kind of, arms race? Like everyone trying to have the best features and capabilities?
I think it's going to happen. It's hard to avoid. Competition usually leads to innovation.
Right.
And I think we'll see both ChatGPT and Sora just push the limits of what's possible with AI video generation, which is good for everyone, users and creators.
Yeah.
Because it means better tools for everyone.
Absolutely. It's worth mentioning that a group actually released an open source implementation of Sora recently.
Right.
They even wrote a bunch of essays explaining why they did it. And they basically wanted to challenge this idea that only big corporations should control AI development.
It's a really important point. Open sourcing these models can make powerful technologies available to way more people. Researchers, developers, even artists can experiment and come up with new ideas. Things they might not be able to do if everything was kept secret.
Yeah. It seems like this open source movement is getting bigger and bigger. We're seeing more projects do this, and it can have a really big impact on how AI is developed in the future. Do you see any downsides to this trend, though?
It's important to recognize that there are risks involved with open sourcing powerful AI models. Like, how do we make sure they're used responsibly? How do we prevent people from using them to do bad things? It's not an easy question.
Right.
It might even require new laws or regulations to handle all the complexities.
Yeah, it's a valid concern. It's kind of like any powerful tool, right?
Yeah.
It can be used for good or bad. It really depends on the people who are using it.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of, intentions and who's in control, China just opened an antitrust probe into NVIDIA's acquisition of Mellanox. That's an Israeli company that makes these high-performance chips for supercomputers.
Oh, wow.
And these chips are super important for training and running large AI models.
Interesting.
So it kind of highlights how important the hardware side of AI is becoming and all the strategic stuff that goes into, making and distributing these chips.
Yeah. Controlling the supply chain for these powerful chips, that could have some major global implications.
Absolutely. AI isn't just about the software. The hardware is just as important. And as AI keeps getting more advanced, the demand for these high-performance chips is only going to go up.
For sure. Now, getting back to Amazon, it looks like they're not just opening a new R&D lab. They're also developing these foundational AI capabilities, maybe to compete with OpenAI and Google.
It's a pretty big deal. Amazon has so many resources and they know a ton about cloud computing. So they've got a really solid foundation. If they manage to develop powerful AI models, it could really change things up, not just in e-commerce, but in lots of other industries too.
Yeah, it's a really exciting time for AI, but it's also a bit unpredictable. Like, there are so many companies trying to be the leader, but amidst all that competition, it's nice to see initiatives that are focused on using AI to make things better.
Yeah.
Like Google investing in renewable energy.
For sure. AI can help us solve some of humanity's biggest problems, and it's good to see that some people are putting their resources towards that. Climate change is a global issue, and if we can use AI to speed up the transition to renewables, that could be huge.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And it's not just Google. More and more people are realizing that AI can help with sustainability, whether it's making energy grids more efficient, keeping an eye on deforestation, or coming up with new materials for clean energy.
It's an area where AI can really make a difference, and it reminds us that it's not just about building more powerful AI, but also about using it to build a better future.
Very well said. With how fast AI is developing, what skills and knowledge do you think will be most important in the future? Like, what should our listeners be focusing on if they want to stay ahead of the game?
That's a great question. As AI becomes a bigger part of our lives, some skills will definitely become even more valuable. Understanding AI and being able to work with AI systems will be essential. Now, that doesn't mean everyone needs to become a programmer, but having a basic understanding of how AI works, what it can do, and what its limitations are, that'll be crucial.
Right.
It'll help people use AI tools effectively, adapt to new jobs, and make informed decisions about how AI is used.
It's kind of like, back in the day, how computer literacy became so important.
Exactly. Now it's AI literacy that's becoming more and more important.
Makes sense.
But it's not just about technical skills.
Right.
Things like critical thinking and problem solving will be even more valuable as we move into an AI-driven world. AI is great at doing routine tasks and analyzing data, but things like creativity, solving complex problems, and being able to adapt to new situations, those will always be important human skills.
Absolutely. Machines can handle the repetitive stuff, but we need human ingenuity, human intuition, our emotional intelligence.
Exactly. We need to focus on developing those uniquely human skills that work well with AI strengths. It's all about finding that sweet spot, the synergy between human and artificial intelligence.
Very well said. This has been an incredibly insightful conversation, Amanda. I always learn a ton when we do these deep dives. Before we wrap up this part, though, I have one last question.
Yeah.
Going back to our discussion about open source AI, do you think that movement could play a role in helping people develop those essential skills and values you were just talking about? Like, could it make a difference for the wider population?
Absolutely. Open source AI can be a really powerful tool for education and empowerment. It gives people access to cutting-edge technology, encourages people to work together and share knowledge, and helps build a culture of transparency and ethical responsibility. By democratizing AI development, we can give more people the opportunity to understand AI, work with it, and help shape its future.
It could be a catalyst for a more inclusive and equitable AI future.
Yeah.
One where everyone has the chance to participate and benefit.
Exactly. And that's a future worth working towards.
Welcome back to AI Hub. As we're wrapping up our AI deep dive today, I keep thinking about just how fast everything is moving. It's really mind-boggling.
It is, yeah. We've talked about a lot today, haven't we? Trying to keep up with all the news, open source AI, all the ethical questions that come up when we're developing AI.
Yeah. And that story about Cosvid really stuck with me.
Yeah.
The AI that can make videos in real time. It's almost like you're looking over the AI's shoulder, watching it create something new.
Yeah, it's a really unique approach. It's not just going from start to finish.
Right.
It's constantly updating the video as it's being created. So you can actually interact with AI, give it feedback, and change how the video turns out.
Wow. So it's like a collaboration, like you're working on a project together with the AI. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But how does that real-time generation affect the quality of the video? I mean, is there a trade-off between how fast it is and how good it looks?
Well, from what I've seen, Cosvid still produces really high-quality videos. Even though it's generating them in real time, the detail is there, the realism, so the algorithms must be incredibly efficient.
That's pretty amazing. It's incredible how AI can do these things now. It really shows how fast this field is progressing. What do you think is next for AI video generation? Like, what breakthroughs are coming up?
I think we're heading towards a future where AI video generation becomes even more personal, more interactive. Just imagine AIs that can create videos based on your preferences, your style, maybe even tell stories based on your own experiences.
It's like having your own personal AI filmmaker.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. The creative possibilities are endless.
But beyond entertainment, what are some of the practical uses for this technology?
Well, AI video generation could change things in a lot of different fields, like education, healthcare, even scientific research. Imagine creating really immersive learning experiences with videos tailored to each student.
Wow.
Or, making realistic simulations for doctors to train on. Or even visualizing really complex data in a way that's easier to understand.
It's like AI is giving us these new tools to explore and understand the world around us. Exactly. And as the technology gets better, I think we'll see even more uses that we haven't even thought of yet.
That's amazing. Well, Amanda, it's been a real pleasure exploring AI with you today. I always learn so much from these deep dives.
The pleasure's all mine, Larry. I always enjoy our conversations.
And to all our listeners out there, we hope you found this deep dive informative and maybe even a little inspiring.
Yeah.
We're really passionate about making AI accessible to everyone. And we encourage you to keep learning about this amazing field.
AI is changing the world in so many ways, and the more we understand it, the better prepared we'll be for the future.
Absolutely. And if you want to keep learning about AI, be sure to subscribe to AI Hub. We'll keep bringing you these deep dives into all the latest developments, the interesting analysis, and the thought-provoking conversations.
We'll see you next time. Keep exploring the incredible world of AI.
Welcome to the AI Hub, a podcast for AI-driven side hustles designed for IT professionals like you.
From cutting-edge AI tools to practical, no-nonsense tips, each episode brings you closer to turning tech into income.
Tune in to discover smart and sustainable ways to boost your career and income with AI.